And we're back sooner than I expected. Turns out I don't have to do anything. Yes, means I can hang out here and make pinched harmonic noises. So let's see, where are we at? I was going to maybe jam over something. Because I do have a gig tomorrow night. I should probably do some practice. That would make sense. All right, where are we at? Yes, cool. Right. Do we have some people back in here? Not yet. We'll see. People will trickle back in. I'm going to play. Man, this guitar rules. Widdly, 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 widdly. Where are we at? Yes, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of this. Gerald, just got an FM3 after using nothing but disappointments. It's great. Hey, have you tried the latest beta update for it? There's some even more good things in there. Dom, hey man, my brother from the Great North. How are you? Greetings from the new abode. What? When did you move? We also moved recently, so it's obviously in the air. Let me do this. I'm just trying to find a backing track to play over. Fire away with some questions while you're all here, now that I didn't have to leave. I hope everybody comes back from the previous stream. Do. Move this week, 3,500 kilometer drive. Dude, how many days did that take? Like a week or something? That's hardcore. Oh, did you not drive? You, like a sensible person, got in a plane or something like that. So yeah, very, very different. So we're not too far from where we were, but you know, totally different layout, and it's good fun. 3 days, man. That's 3 intense days of driving. Love your content. It's time for some new metal recto riffs. My brother. Yes. Let's go down. I like how I turned the tuner on, but still get the... I'll tell you what. I will play the most new metal Ragdoll song I can find. Yeah, we'll do that. Live rig, $1,000 budget, lots of ambient sounds required. Thoughts? Do you need a speaker cabinet and things like that on top of it? So let me know that. I mean, I just say like FM3 done. You plug that into the PA and go. But if you need like an FRFR or a speaker cab or something, that obviously changes things up. Man, I haven't played the Recto on here for a while. I've been really into the 5150 derivatives, but turn the tuner off, Leon. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. Just that chord. So good. What's the other thing? Direct in-ears. Dude, FM3, the end, you know. You've got all the Plex delays and multi-tap delays, and the AC30 sounds amazing in there. The clean sounds are amazing. It's yeah, pretty hard to go wrong with that. That guitar is sweet, sounds great. I agree. So this is Sydney-based luthier, Charles Chillier. Charles is maybe an even bigger John Sykes fan than I am, but he also makes amazing Strat-style guitars, Les Paul-style guitars. This is a guitar called the Bell Aurora. His wood selection is, that is... Where have you seen a top like that before? This is like PRS 20 top. Amazing playability. He's very much in the Sir Anderson kind of category for just good stuff. So yeah, this is... I had the good fortune of being able to borrow this guitar while I was in Sydney, and I was like, man, you have to sell this to me. It's too good. It's too good. Thanks to Verley at Pass Effects, I am now addicted to Tim Tams. Yes, this is the way. Although the price of Tim Tams has soared recently, it's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, in my head, they're on sale for $2, but they're never on sale for $2 anymore. They're like $6 now. So Stefan, hope you're well, mate. Good to see you in here. Mad Scientist, I'm well. Very, very well. I'm caffeinated. I'm well fed. It's 10:15 a.m. here. I'm playing guitar, hanging out, talking about guitar noises. Life is adequate. I got nothing to complain about here. What was the other thing? We were talking about ambient sounds, right? So I'll take you through a couple of my ambient sounds in here that I like. So one cool... I really like the Memory Man delay in here. If you like that kind of vibe, and especially if you crank up the feedback on this thing and go for a longer delay, you can do some cool sound on sound. Yeah, that kind of thing. That's pretty sweet. This is the fun preset. This is a tape delay with a modifier set on it to basically give you an octave style effect. Stuff like that. Even just a clean sound, right? And you just put the cloud reverb on. What is this, a Stratocumulus? Beautiful. Dig those delays. Thanks, Nick. What's your go-to delay for blended into lead tones? I'm going to drag Accent it in here. Dominic. I very, very much like Car Bomb, the band. Car Bombings is, unrelated, but the band, I really, really like them. They're one of my favorite modern metal bands, if not my favorite. I mean, all the laser style effects. There's some good fractal patches around, like this one. So you can do this kind of thing, right, where you... fun stuff like that I'm very, very into. What were we saying? Ambient stuff. What was I going to do? I was going to drag something in here. Nick was talking about lead delays. That's right. Paired with a stereo JC40. Oh, dude. That would be an awesome rig. I always forget about the JC series, the fact that they're stereo, so you could put stereo effects processor in there. Yeah, that's very, very cool. Very, very cool. The update on the FM3, are some of these blocks available? Yes, so you can grab my blocks library. It's on Gumroad. If you look up Leon Todd Gumroad, there's a VP4 library for Earl if you want to grab a whole bunch of VP4 specific blocks, and then there's FM3, FM9, AxeFX3 blocks as well. Good day, Leon. Want to ask you, when you tweak tones, do you set it for a specific pickup neck bridge? Yeah. Underrated question. I do. I normally dial it in for the bridge pickup. So if I was... Well, there's a good question. If I'm dialing in a dirty sound or a crunchy sound, I will dial it in for the bridge pickup. So, if we're talking like JCM 800 or something like that, I just get it going on the bridge. And then the neck pickup is just what the neck pickup is. That is guitar specific. If you like the neck pickup sound on your guitar, then you just do that. However, for clean sounds, I would dial them in on the neck pickup. So get something like this. That could do with a little more sparkle maybe. And you switch to the bridge and it's a variation on that tone. And I will answer 2 questions in one. Bill, thank you as always for the super chat, mate. I got something for you. So sorry, before we get to that, Luffy and me, same goes for crunch. So anything distorted, I would dial in on the bridge pickup and let the neck pickup be what the neck pickup is. Maybe chuck a boost in or a compressor or something if you want to change it up. And for clean sounds, I'd dial it in on the neck pickup and then let the bridge pickup do what it does. And Nick Granville asked about lead sounds. So, hey, Justin, tuning in on your lunch break. You must be on the east coast of Australia, mate, because it would be about lunchtime there, right? So I'm going to do a Skolnick thing for Bill. And while we're doing that, I will drag in... Let's see, share screen, window, Axe Edit 3. Nick, with the dirty stuff. This is a couple of the things that I like. So, this one looks pretty daunting. So what I've been super into, actually I'll demonstrate this another way. Dual delays, Nick, because I like stereo. I did a video a couple of weeks ago talking about dual delays. So this might be super boring, but just have a listen. I'm going to do this. So a lot of the time, you know, if you, well, we'll talk about the delays I like, and then we'll talk about, we'll talk about filtering first. So I do like pulling a bunch of high end and a little bit of low end out of delays. So, you know, going, let's say on your cab, if you set the high cut in the cab block at 8K, I'd set the high cut and the delay at around 4K. So, you know, an octave lower on there. So the delays sound nice and warm. And you get some nice filtering happening in there. You can go for more extreme slopes as well, like this kind of thing. So they really get washed out quickly. But for this, just 6 dB. So let's say we take a quarter note on one side and a dotted eighth note delay on another. Running them in parallel like this, the left delay is feeding back with itself, the right delay is feeding back with itself. They're not interacting, so you get this cool, like a polyrhythmic delay. So you get... There's going to be points when the two delays line up, and they're going to be at slightly different volumes to one another, depending on where they're at in their feedback cycle. So you'll hear a center delay with this sort of pseudo panning effect, right? So you get, which I think sounds really cool. So that works great. This is really nice as a rhythmic effect. You know, you give it a bit more. Because one's going to be lining up, the quarter note delay, and the eighth note delay is going to be in the gaps. Okay, so that's a parallel delay. If you add some cross feedback between them, so let's say we take the quarter note delay and we feed some of it into the dotted eighth note delay, you sort of get this really cool washed out, almost reverb style effect, which is nice. The delays kind of interact with one another, which I really, really like. You could then add some diffusion to that to smear them out. So, yeah, so they start interacting and then they wash out, which sounds like a reverb. Now that sounds pretty cool, right? My favorite, which I've figured out is my favorite, is the two-tap delay. So I guess the way I'd explain this would be like, think about a tape echo where you've got a record head and a playback head. So what's going to happen here is you can feed back signal from the output back to the input, but where you feed it back is important. So dotted eighth note and quarter note delay here. But what's happening is the left delay, the shorter delay, isn't interacting with itself. It's not feeding back into itself. The only delay that's copying feedback is this long delay, like the entire tape loop. So there's a whole tape loop and it goes to the output. Some of it gets fed back into itself, but then somewhere along the line, you've got another point where you can read the delay time. So it's a shorter delay time, but that one, that read head, doesn't get incorporated into the feedback. So this is the way I do it, where the longer delay has 100% feedback with itself and 100% feedback with the other channel. The short delay doesn't have any feedback with itself or the main one, and I turn the master feedback down. So dual parallel delay goes, you know, so it's a polyrhythm, whereas a two-tap goes, there's always an offset between them. So you get da-da, 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 rather than da-da, da-da, da-da. So we've got parallel, and we've got two-tap. The two-tap's just a little bit cleaner to me, and then, you know, good trick is add a little bit of diffusion to that. Slowly gets washed out on there as a nice kind of little reverb, which sounds really, really good. Turn that up. Let's add a little bit of extra sauce on there. I kind of like the shred boost here. Ah, it's good. And you do your Alex Skolnick lick. There you go. So yeah, long story short, that's how I do that. Bill Murray. Hey, Bill. This, let me pull this out of here, is a Chilia. Or as a lot of people say, Celia. But I've confirmed with Charles that he pronounces his last name Chilia. It's a guitar they make called the Bella Aurora. It's I guess 335-esque. Few key differences. The back is like, okay, so the back is solid, but he carves out around like this. The center block only comes to about here. Unlike a 335, which would have a separate piece of timber and all be laminated. So it's, yeah, it's really cool. It's almost like a super chambered, oversized Les Paul. PRS meets 335 kind of. Yeah, very much so. That construction method, I think, is a really cool point of difference as well. Where again, like a 335, which I've got a 335 here. Let me get the 335, shall I? So again, this is like, and you might be able to kind of see in there, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a piece of mahogany. Gets the big piece of mahogany, hollows all of this out, leaves the center block, and then adds a flame maple cap on there. It's a solid cap as well, so that's not laminated. That's a solid carved piece. Versus a 335. Let's do this. This is a really, really great guitar. And if Tim's still in here, Tim absolutely resuscitated this and brought it back to life with a killer stainless refret. So a 335, the way they build these are laminated. So the sides and the top and the back are all separate pieces of timber, kind of more akin to the way you'd make an acoustic guitar. But then there is a solid block on this guitar. It's a solid block of maple that runs all the way through there. So I guess, I mean, one's not better than the other. It's just like different construction methods, right? Now, this sounds pretty interesting, actually, this guitar. It's got a real, there's this thing, like the attack you get on it. Very, there's a word I'm looking for with it. I'm going to tune it first, so it's slightly more tolerable. But yeah, I mean, this guitar's got so much character. I've done so much recording with it over the years. It's on a lot of Ragdoll stuff as a layer. There's a kind of thing it's got. You hear it unplugged. You know, it's like there's this sort of tinniness to it unplugged. There's not a whole lot of low end. Like this into that old Marshall kills as a sort of, you know, Malcolm Young sort of tone. But the Chillier, like it has way more low end. It's a lot smooth, like it's thicker and smoother sounding unplugged. It doesn't sound tinny, almost sounds like a nice acoustic. And then it's a bit darker, it's a bit thicker sounding, which I like because, you know, you give it this thing. I think it suits what I do a lot. Not that the 335 or the Tyler or a PRS doesn't suit what I do. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just play a guitar and you're like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, you said 30 minutes. Yeah, I had someone who'd booked an online guitar lesson and they weren't able to make it. So here we are. Yeah, Nick, I really want to get one of Charles's Strats. That's, I think, 2 guitars he makes that I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to have to order at some point. One of his Strats, he had one at the Melbourne Guitar Show that was just unbelievable. And I'm like, dude, sell me this right now, please. And a Halo, which is his version of a Les Paul. So, yeah, I mean, this finish has grown on me so much. I was like, oh, it's grey, whatever. I'm not into the grey burst thing, but I absolutely love it so much now that Halo, so his version of a single cut Les Paul style guitar with this finish and the same specs, I think it would be super cool to just get a twin to this. The orange sound, yeah, exactly. Very, very much. Yeah, it's, I mean, look, people love to hang crap on Gibson, right? And like, oh, Les Pauls are heavy and their headstocks break. But they do have that sound, and that sound is very, very important to what we like about rock music. So, yeah, that's what I think there. Zach says, kind of like the maple body ESPs and Kramers from the 80s, you can hear that bite. Yes, big time, man. Very, very tight core tone on there. I dig Dolce's Telly with the trem. Yeah, man, that thing sounds, well, Dolce always sounds so good, right? But yeah, did I play that guitar? I mean, I reckon I signed up to Dolce's newsletter like in 2010 because he was, you know, Australian legato king, free lessons, that kind of thing. And I've spoken to him a lot online. I'd never ran into him. And I went down to Charles's place when I was in Sydney, and like, who walks through the door immediately? Dolce. I was like, finally, we get to meet. So yeah, hearing him do his thing on his telly with the trem, so cool, man. And obviously he does the voice and all the tones on there, absolutely kill. Want to use an interface with my AC15. I like the Boss in your video the other day. Do I really need an IR with the computer? Okay, Emmett, a few things. If you want to record your amp, right? You've got a couple of different ways to do it. The classic way is to put a microphone in front of it, and then you can take the microphone to your interface and do that. However, if you don't want the sound of your cabinet in the room, then you'll need something like a reactive load. So something like the Boss tube amp expander is great because you get the load, so you can plug your tube amp into it without having to connect it to a speaker. But it also has built-in impulse responses or cabinet sims in there. So if you just take a load box, well, I'll give you an example. You know, you like your Vox style thing, right? So here is something Voxy. Let me just tune this up so I can play some nice open G chords, which is, I don't know why I think of AC30s and I think of Tom Petty. I don't know if he even used them, but that's the... Okay. You know, Jangletown. See the guitar a bit better now. Okay, so if you just used a reactive load box and no cabinet simulation, this is what your guitar would sound like. I call that the cardboard tone. With a cabinet simulation, now it sounds like a mic'd up guitar cab. So if you don't want to think too hard, and you just want a box to plug into, something like the Two Notes Captor, the Tube Amp Expander from Boss will do the job, and you can connect them. A lot of them as well are interfaces, so you may not need an external interface. If you've got an external interface, so easy, take the line out from the Tube Amp Expander, say, plug it in there, listen through monitors or headphones, and happy days. Yeah, so, and the load aspect of it is really, really important. Do not take the speaker output and plug it into your interface. You'll blow things up. So basically, like a tube amplifier and its transformer and its output section need to see a speaker, right, to behave properly. So you can replace that speaker with a reactive load. Oh, this is a good question. SGs especially have the Aunch. Oh, man, exactly. There's a reason Angus uses one, right? I still remember being about 15 or 16, and there was So the local music store here opened up like another store that was really close to me, and it was close enough where I could go in there on my lunch break when I was in school. I remember going in there, and one of the guys who worked there, he was like, oh man, I did a gig the night before. It must have been a Friday. He's like, yeah, we did this Thursday night thing, and there was something with my amp. So he brings in an orange AD30 and cabinet and an SG, and he goes, yeah, it's there was something that was going wrong with my amp, and he just had this AD30 at gig volume and the SG, and he plugged it in, he played a G chord, and it was like the best crunch sound I'd ever heard in my life. That still lives in my mind, just that SG AD30. Oh man, so good, so good. Still watching the Nano overview. There's a lot with that. I didn't even touch on the fact that you can power it via USB, so you plug it into an iPad and record a guitar solo that way. Luffy and me. All right, this is a really, really good one. Want to know if you tweak tones differently for gigs with lots of keyboards versus mainly guitar-oriented gigs? I certainly do, yeah. So guitar Leon gets to be able to do sounds like this, you know, with pretty broad spectrum giant chungus. I can basically leave heaps of stuff in with that, right? Bit of pitch detune, bit of reverb, make it sound really wide. What I've found doing gigs with keyboard players, especially rock gigs, right? There's a reason Ritchie Blackmore played a Strat. The Strat into a Marshall thing on its own can sound a little bit thin and tinny, but when you've got to compete with giant Hammond organ, you need your guitar to just really poke through. So yeah, I feel like a couple of years ago I did a gig with singer-songwriter here who'd written a bunch of stuff and she wanted to do a launch. So it was actually, we did it with Ragdoll, so it was her fronting Ragdoll basically, playing her stuff. And I remember rehearsing for it, I think using a Les Paul or a PRS. It sounded cool. And I was like, yeah, it's the guitar's like, yeah, it's not really cutting through. And then I played a Strat. I bought a Strat along and plugged that in and it was perfect. It was like, there it is. That's the sound. Done. It was the normal sound I had just playing it on my old 70 Strat, which is a much leaner sounding guitar, but it's just like it gave it this pokiness that just kind of stuck out. So yeah, I would probably use less low end and more mids and upper mids, for use of a better term, on there. Something a bit janglier just to make the guitar kind of stick through. Whereas if I'm just doing guitar gigs, then just bloat it out and it all sounds good. Oh, Bill. MP1 and the Strategy. I mean, the Strategy would have enough power to level a small building, right? Yeah, exactly. Big time. This is, you know, you tighten this up and you got the... B. Sutich. Thanks for doing the FM3 beta firmware vid. Beta, as I would say. When do you think it'll be officially out? That's a good question. I don't think they normally work to like a set timeline, like we'll do 2 weeks. I think they just kind of put it out there and let people find bugs and do that kind of thing. So yeah, I imagine I've seen the thread on the forum is like lots of pages long now, hundreds of posts. So I imagine they might tweak a few things in there before it comes out. But yeah, I mean, it's, for what I'm doing, it's been pretty solid. I've already done a gig with it and it was fine. So yeah, the tones are really good. Any advice on trilling while sliding the right hand on the strings? I need so much gain to get it consistently that rhythm's fuzzy. Yes. So you're talking about this effect, right? It can be a tricky one, man. You could just have a boost on to do it, or use a wah. Because the wah's gonna like... Oh god, that's a nice noise, isn't it? Oh, Kaboom 22, my favorite standalone reverb pedal. Well, 3 come to mind immediately. And I've got demos with all of them. Big Sky MX, which I think is kind of probably the normcore option because it does everything pretty well. It's got the cloudburst mode in it. I think, look, if I was going for, let's say, modern slick reverb, Big Sky MX is really, really cool because you can run 2 reverbs at the same time. You can run IRs on it, so you could load up like a delay IR or use the magneto mode, so you've got a delay and a reverb. And that's pretty rad. The thing is, it's quite expensive. Like, it's almost as expensive as a VP4. So I would say, in that case, if you were considering the Big Sky MX, maybe also check out a VP4, because the VP4 reverbs are ridiculously good, and it will do every other effect you need as well. That's more towards the expensive end of the spectrum. The Neuneighbor, or Neuneighbor, however you say it, what's it called? The Illumin, I did a demo with, and that is primo. Again, that will also do delay in there. I like that because it runs off like 100 or 200 milliamps of power, like almost nothing. It just sounds really detailed and lush, kind of like the Big Sky MX. It's not quite as expensive. And the other thing as well is like expression control on there is really easy to integrate. So yeah, I think they've done a really cool job with that. However, I think if you just want like one or two really, really good reverb sounds for guitar, and basically for guitar, what I want is, you know, if I've got a dirty sound, like I almost always have like this, you know, that's dry. You know, I just want like a little bit of something on there. I want like a plate. Just that very dark thing going on, right? Which, you know, if you crank it up, it's more like a little bit of space, a little bit of thickening on there. So a really good plate. And then if I'm playing a clean sound, I want a really nice lush hall kind of tone, you know, this sort of thing. Just a nice big... You know, if I want to give it heaps of decay, I can do that. This is the Fractal, by the way, so the VP4 will do all of these sounds. It will also do the big cloudy kind of thing as well. We'll also do the pitched thing as well. Anyway, a really good plate and a really good hall and a really good spring. I think the Universal Audio Golden is probably my favorite just thing that only does reverb. And there's a bunch of things which annoy me about the UA ecosystem, like how to get certain features on the pedal, you need to register it with the app. There's no MIDI. There's a bunch of other things. But that pedal sounds so good that I don't care. Like the 224 mode on there is like, it's just so good. I heard that and I was like, right, I need to buy this pedal because having that on your pedal board's great. The EMT style plates sound fantastic and the springs are really good. That's sort of all it does, but it does them all very, very well. So yeah. Well, there you go. I'd be very keen to know if you grab one, how you go with it. If you don't need stereo, they do make the 224 mode and the plate mode available. What is it, like the golden plate and the heavenly or something like that? So that's, yeah, that's also another option. Lexicon Reverb still highly regarded. Absolutely. I think Lexicon Reverb is like Marshall Crunch, right? Everyone is always going to want to hear a Marshall Crunch sound. It's just so embedded in the sound of guitar music. And I think Lexicon Reverb's, you know, they wrote the book on how to do digital reverb, which I always laugh at, right? Because you see companies, you know, advertise their pedals and they're like, you know, based on a Lexicon Reverb, and you're like, yeah, everything is. Like, there's... I know there are some different architectures that certain pedals use, where they use like, and they use like diffuse delays and a couple of other things where it's not quite like a Lex, but man, anything that's using DSP is probably using, you know, it's using the Lexicon 224 or the 480 concert hall as a starting point, because that is like the algorithm that everyone copies. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I imagine, Nick, have you found, I know doing a lot of pit gigs and doing a lot of stuff like that for you, where, you know, you might walk into a gig and they've just got like a deluxe reverb or I don't know, a Tone Master or a Katana or something. It's like, there's a clean sound. Don't be any louder than that. You can just go VP4 and be like, oh, I need a bit of drive. And like, it gives you those elements like you're using pedals. This is a this is great. Is the Pope American? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Nice one. Chase Bliss CXM 1978 is fantastic too. Yes, and I know that Meris did the reverbs for that, and they have the Mercury X, which is also very highly regarded. So, yeah, that would be another one to chuck in there. Had a small issue with durability, but I may just be hard on my equipment. Yeah, man, I am... yeah, I also very hard on my equipment. You guys should see my PRS DGT. It is bashed. For such a nice guitar, that thing has been seriously abused. Your reviews are excellent. I wish to see your review about the 2 Notes Reload too. Thank you, Alexandra. Hopefully I'll get my hands on one soon. I think we're starting to get some stock down here. So yeah, I did some stuff with the Captor X the other day, so I'd like to hear the improved impedance curve on there. And there's a lot of really, really nice features on there. GT is in the house, bro. Are you on lunch or something, man? Also great shout from James Norton. The Hardwire RV7 is a great reverb pedal. It's got the Lexi chip in there, as I understand. So H90, any good for reverb along with the VP4? Yes. Look, I wasn't crazy about the H9 reverbs, like just the basic algorithms, but the H90 has like an emulation of the old Eventide SP 2016, which came out at a similar time as the early Lexicon unit. So the SP 2016 plate and room, they're my favorite reverbs in the H90. I think they sound really good. I've got some demos with them. So any power supply recommendations? Currently using Ojai, and the supplied power supply isn't ideal. I would say you might need a current doubler cable, Nick. So, so you can use 2 ports on the OJ and maybe get enough current running to the VP4. What's your main Ragdoll sound? It is this. So I've got it on the Axe FX3 at the moment, but I basically use the same preset in the FM9 and the FM3. What is it? I'll drag it in for you so you guys can see this. Share screen. So it is this, which looks very, very daunting, but basically the core tone is, and I mean, I'm not in, we also play in drop C, which is definitely part of the sound, but here's drop D. So what is this? This is an FAS amp, the Stealth Blue. So it's based on 5153 Stealth. I use my free cab IR. You guys can grab this in the video description. Set the high cut somewhere between 5 and 8 kilohertz on there. Tiny amount of plate reverb, bit of dual D tune on there, and it goes. So there's that, and then for the lead sound, there's a multi-tap delay that comes on. Doing that thing. And then what do I have? A tape delay in front of the amp for a... What is that, just a dotted 8? Yep. That's pretty cool, and I think a multi-tap doing some chorusing on here. Short delays, fast chorus. One of my favorite things on here is being able to go from... So there's this ADSR filter on here. Which is pretty cool. What do we have here? Plex delay with 8 voices into a rhythmic tremolo for an Eventide undulator style tone. A ring modulator set up as an octaver into a filter for this. And then the Rockman compressor model into a stereo chorus with some phase reverse and a little bit of delay and a bigger gold plate reverb and pitch detune, doing the Rockman thing. the coils on this. So yeah, I mean, I mostly use the first 3 or 4 sounds on there. All the other stuff is just fun. Another thing, which I thought some people might appreciate, is I was playing around trying to get a Boss OC2 tone, so I was looking at how the OC2 works. And rather than use a pitch block, use a triangle wave in the synth block, set it to an octave lower, and really heavily filter it. So you get... Actually, Nick, you might enjoy this one, because I imagine the OC2 would be super fun for some of the gigs you do with organ. You can turn the mix up a little bit if you want. On its own, it's kind of a crap sound. But you just... You can use another triangle set 2 octaves down on that. Tracks pretty well too. Probably tracks a bit too good for an OC2 style thing. So yeah, there's some stuff that you can do. Some very, very good fun stuff. Where are we at in the chat? OC2 is one of my all-time favorite pedals. If I pop gig tonight and use it, whenever I can put the OC2 on, I will. Yeah, I mean, it's just like... It's thickness, right? That's the thing. It just makes everything sound fatter. Very straightforward. Well, not straightforward. It's a very good use of the basic or limited components that were available at the time. But man, so good. Any overall thoughts on the TC Electronic and the Rocktron multi-effects or preamp rack units? Really general question, but I thought you might have experience with them. Lots of experience with them. What have I... got? I currently have a 2290 and a TC D2. I've owned a TC G Major and a G Major 2 and a G-Force, which are all really fun units. So the G-Force uses a similar architecture to the TC Fireworks, and I've never tried a Fireworks, but the Fireworks is essentially like the way it's laid out is what the Axe Effects used. So it's a modular system, it's a grid, and there's modifiers available. So yeah, if you wonder where the original Axe Effects Standard and Axe Effects Ultra took their cues from, it's from the TC G-Force and the Fireworks. And then obviously Eventide with a lot of the control you have in there. So yeah, the D2 is a really awesome delay unit. The 2290 obviously is like stone cold classic. If someone was going to say what are the greatest rack mount effects processors ever, the 2290 is, in my opinion, in the upper pantheon, right? What would they be, actually? I would say probably this sounds like a video coming on. The SPX 90 has to be in there because single rack unit multi-effect. The Eventide H3000 has to be in there because it was just such an influential unit and it just sounded so good and still does sound so good. I think the 2290's in there. There's probably a few like mixing specific rack units in there. The 1210, hey man, where else are you going to get chorus like that, right? So most of the amps are decorations. Yeah, the amps are for fun and for texture and for character and things like that. If I'm recording, and I want my Marshall sound, I'll use my Marshalls. So, Blossy, we're going to break down the ring mod and filter thing. Yeah, man, let's take a look. Let's dive deep. It's relatively straightforward. So, I forget who got me onto this trick with the ring mod. But basically, so, if anyone wants to know how a ring modulator works, basically, a standard ring modulator, it's quite a cool design. What you do is you set a frequency. So like, let's do this. Let's set this to 440. 440. So this note. So the ring modulator is like, yo, dude, there's my reference frequency. If you play something into this, the ring modulator is, what does it use? I think it uses, what are those things called? The electronic component. It's not a transistor, it's a weird rectifier, I think. Is that right? I might be wrong there. Someone will correct me. Anyway, what it does is the ring modulator will go like, hey, I'll calculate the difference between the note that you play and this note. And then it will give you like the difference between them, so a lower frequency and a higher frequency. So if I play an A into a ring modulator, listen to that. But as soon as I start moving, I play an E, that's quite harmonious. This is like the first time I've used a non-pitch tracking ring modulator where I like the way it sounds. So that's what it's doing, right? But what's really cool about the fractal ring mod is it has this pitch tracking feature. So rather than this setting the, what do they call it, the carrier frequency, you detect the incoming pitch and you use that as the carrier frequency. So if you set it 1-to-1, I mean, nothing special, it's just giving you unison. But if you set it to 0.5, the ring modulator is going to generate a tone an octave lower than whatever you play. And obviously, you know, sort of has to detect the pitch and then calculate it. So it sounds a little bit funky and glitchy. I like using a high cut in here to take out some of the artifacts. I mean, you can set the frequency multiplier to 2 and get an octave up. You play a chord and it freaks out. But still sounds kind of cool. I mean, a ring mod without a... And get your Frankenstein on if you set it to... you know, some nice multiple. So anyway, Ryan, that's what's happening with the ring mod. It's just giving me a funky octave. The filter, they have this envelope filter model in here, which I think they modeled a Qtron, so whatever the current version of the Mutron is, or maybe the Electro-Harmonix version of it. So it's... I don't even know if I've tweaked this. These might just be the stock sensitivity settings. But a really cool thing about it, which I think you'll appreciate, is you can set the detector source to be the block input or to be the main guitar input. So if you're smashing it with a ring mod first, that's kind of making it freak out. Or you can get a slightly cleaner effect, which is cool because you could place this after a drive pedal, like a fuzz, and really hammer it. But let's do ring mod into fuzz. So obviously the fuzz is pushing a lot more level into this block, throwing off the sensitivity. But if I want the sensitivity to listen to input 1, it's meant to be. I want to hear that OC2 style thing. I mean, that's insane. What if I did OC2 into ring mod? Yes, this is why this stuff is amazing, right? Let's do... what am I going to change? Yes, that's it. Give me the ring mod. We're off the deep end right now, everybody. Oh my god. Absolutely heinous. Let's take out the super low octave there. Give me some chorus. This is starting to sound like Car Bomb now. Oh, man. This is too much fun. This is too much fun. So yeah, anyway, that's what's going on there. Good fun, hey. I have to click this later and see if I can get close with some other gear. I believe my VF1 could get close. I mean, look, I always look at this stuff and go, all right, cool. Well, that's fun. I wonder which old Roland Korg or Eventide unit came up with this idea. Getting into knife drop territory. Yes. Big time, right? That low synth tone and, oh man, I feel like as guitar players, understanding filtering really is something that we just don't get into. Whereas like so many of my favorite bass and synthesizer sounds use filtering and envelope filtering and stuff like that. So, ooh, this is cool. An art rack unit with a ring mod that would gradually pitch up a set amount in kind of a ping pong delay. That sounds rad. Can I do that? Let's see if we can do this. So one really cool thing, the multi-tap delay block. In the quad parallel delay, you can add ring modulation in there, right? So let's do this. Let's add some cross feedback with these voices. So we'll do a bit of this. What do we have? I'm going to try this with a clean sound really quickly. Do I have a clean sound? Almost definitely not. Let's do this. So, I wouldn't mind a... Let's just do this. Maybe I'll take the cross feedback out of it actually. So we just get... No, cross feedback's good. Let's do that. Now, let's add some ring modulation to this. Frequency mix. All of it. Can I... Oh, hang on. Let's do this. Let's do this. We'll do frequency. Let's do... And I probably need to turn the master ring mod mix up. Diffuser. Where on earth would this be? You can add comb filters in there, which is pretty fun. Here we go, master ring mod mix. Probably need to crank the ring mod. Let's do like this. Oh, listen to that. I feel like there's a mode in here called peeling bells or something like that. Peeling bells, there it is. So yeah, listen to that. That's really cool. That's cool. Very, very cool. There's some other very interesting modes in here, like this. Yeah, that's cool. It's like a band delay style thing. Where are we at? The Yamaha UD Holdsworth style things, you know. No, those sound good. Those sound very, very nice. What else is there? The camera eye. That's really cool. Nice filtered. Yeah, I think this is one of my blocks that I tried doing the aerosol from the PC, not the PCM, the MPX one. That's kind of cool. I forgot that that's in there. 1210, obviously. I'll bring up, I tweaked this a little bit, yeah. The goat, there's also the like maggot brain style delay. You can. This is a very, very fun one. That with the ring mod and the filter. That's pretty rad. Almost sounds like, yeah, dude, big fair warning energy. That's really, really cool. You're ready to tour with Disco Biscuits. Was the Art an SGX 2000? That's what I thought as well. That sounds about right. You can do the, I mean, let's do this. Let's bring up the pitch block, right? One of my favorite modes in here, and I'm super into it because I requested it and they added it, right? So there's a dual detune where you can add delays, but there's an eventide algorithm I think you can build that I made where I was like, wow, I really like the sound of this, where you have cross feedback between the pitch voices on here. So I don't know, like this, say a 400 millisecond delay on each side, a little bit of detune on each side, and feedback that's cross feedback. So it's like 9 cents up, 9 cents down, and then they feed into one another and like kind of tune back up and back down. So you get this, it's like the, I'm trying to do the Michael Thompson style delay thing, I guess, from the H3000. It just sounds very, very lush, but you could take that further and, you know, get them to balance out, or you could, it's very, almost like an AMS style thing, right? Or you could actually use pitched delays on this. Something like, let me see. Let's add, I don't know, a semitone up and down on each side. This will be fun. That's quite funny. Or, you know, do fifths. That might be fun. That's quite fun. The Art SGX Express. Yes, dude, that's really, really cool. I've been dialing in Vernon Reid's Undercover of Darkness into Helix, almost there. Delays pitched up 1 octave. Very, very cool. I've done some of that. It's sick but hard to dial in when it works, so it's unbelievable. Yes, man. Vernon's rig, dude. I've had to set up my gear in front of that before, and it's quite daunting. It was funny because he had everything except a fractal, and then I came and put my fractal down in front of it, and I was like, oh, dude, look, we've got the entire collection now. So, yeah, I can't believe he travels with that insane pedal board. What was the other thing I was going to drop in here? What was I talking about? The AMS delays. Yes, so very underrated little trick, like slapbacky kind of things. Like a micro pitch slap, basically. Then very into this as well. This is with the dual detune delay. You know, that into what reverb? Let's take one of the big halls. York Minster Cathedral, that'll do. Quite nice. So much stuff you can do with Echo. It's absolutely unreal. I'm going to go through, while we're here talking about fun stuff, shout out to Simeon Harris for some of his presets, like this stuff. kind of granular inspired. Holding things down and getting unreal. So good. I had to bug Simeon for his old GeForce demos. I'm so glad he sent them to me. I couldn't retrieve all of them. Yeah, man. Dude's a wizard. Like, the stuff he was doing with the GeForce and an Eclipse and a few other pieces of gear were just, like, mind-blowing. Maybe I should maybe I should bug him for that. Who needs Fripp? Yeah. I mean, it's all... Man... Very, very good point with the Frippy kind of thing, right? It's so much fun. How do you choose a reverb block for a given patch? Well, I think I probably, for a distorted sound, I'll use like a touch of a plate or a room 99% of the time. For clean stuff, I tend to think in terms of character. So playing this, let's say I just had a clean sound, right? Okay, so... Let's say we're doing the clean thing and you want to play percussive stuff, right? So you, I don't know. Or funk stuff. Using a really swelly reverb on that. You know, where there's like a big decay and a lot of carryover doesn't work so well. So... I mean, I'd probably just start off with, in the Fractal, the studio reverb is one of my favorite short ones. You know, it's kind of barely there. If I wanted something a bit more lush, I'd use a plate for a darker thing. You know, what's this? The gold plate. Or I go with a hall. I don't know, the large hall. I think there's a default type. And then, depending on how much mix you want, you know, if you're playing stuff that's a little bit slower and, you know, there's time for the notes to bloom, turn the mix up. And if I was going for an ambient thing, I'd use one of the cloud type or one of the pitch type reverbs, like my go-to pitch one is this Ursa Major reverb because it just, man, it just sounds good. You know, so basically what I'd say is I just surf through the different types until I hear a character that I like. So I'll give you guys an example of actually using this. So I've been doing this circus and cabaret gig. But this is the main sound I would use for that. It's just a JCM 800 model. Probably not as loud as my other patches, so I'll just fix that quickly. You know, there's a lot of... It's, you know, it's a rock guitar sound. There's plenty of thickness in that. There's a bit of dual D tune and there's a little bit of the large room reverb on that. But a big part of that gig is what I like to call sexy spaghetti western music. So a clean amp with tremolo and spring reverb. This sound, you know. So, you know, I can use this sound for some of the real... Can use that for that. There's a couple of sort of jazzy things in the show, like a... You know, doing that sort of thing. So I can use that sound a lot. But then the third sound I really need in the show is this, where the MC singer will be in the crowd and you're doing just a lot of like... that's... where is it? I want the... So it's a 20-second reverb with a multi-delay into it and volume swell, so... So that's where that kind of comes in. I need three very different reverb sounds, right? I need this super ambient thing, the... So I need that sound. I need, you know, sexy spaghetti western. And also with this, you can get a lot of that, like... And there's parts of the show where you're just comping while the MC or the performer's doing crowd work, so they're interacting with the crowd. So you might be playing something like, for the intro of the show, like the songs, this kind of... I'll have to go, you know, they're introducing the crowd. They might tell a joke or something. So you kind of, a lot of underscoring and things like that, and then you've immediately got to go back into the chunky stuff. Other stuff's just sort of like straight out rocking out. Other times you need the ambient thing. So yeah, that's the approach to reverb. It's either very subtle or it's really in your face and character driven. So let's see. Let me just... I didn't have that on there anyway. So yeah, there's a grand tour of reverb. I like the boing. Yeah, man, the fractal springs are very good. Like they do the drip. When you set the fractal at home, does it translate well to live speakers? Yeah, I think so, but I have spent a lot of time with this, so it's been very iterative. The main thing I do is just play around with the cab block high cut. If I'm playing a really big PA, I'll bring that down more. Yeah, man, it's just crazy, right? A dude in a room with one box and a guitar, and you get all these sounds. Metallica's Until It Sleeps was the first song I learned at 15. Speedy Western kind of chorus and fretless bass with the chorus. Yeah, man, cool song. I liked when they did stuff like that. James has a really, again, his voice just has character, you know. But yeah, for like the surf thing. Pretty fun. Blossy, is that an emulation of the old Ursa Major? I don't think it's a specific emulation, but I would say it's probably the name is inspired by what people did with that reverb. So they have all these pitched reverbs in there. Let me bring them up. Let's take a look. I'm enjoying this deep dive into this stuff. So I guess there's this whole set of, you have your halls, your plates, your springs, chambers, all that kind of stuff. But then, a while ago now, they added all these like cloud named reverbs. So basically, I think lots of people were like, hey, can we have more stuff like the Big Sky? So, you've got cirrocumulus in there. And these are all, look, this is speculation on my part because I'm not savvy to what they're based on. Whoa, let's not do that. I suspect they're all based on the Hall algorithm in some way. But yeah, heaps of decay. And you can hear they've been tuned so they don't get too metallic or anything. So you've got like cirrocumulus, stratocumulus is my favorite. Pretty dark sounding. What is there? Cirrocumulus is like cumulonimbus. This is a good one, 30 seconds. Very, very nice stuff. And then in a more recent firmware update, they added, so you can take any reverb in here and you can add pitch shifting. And Ryan, you will like this because you can set there's two voices. You can set the balance between the voices. You can set the splice time for the pitch voices, the overall mix, whether they're forward or reverse. You can have modulation, you can have a high cut in there, how much feedback they have. But the really cool thing is you can choose where they are in the reverb algorithm, so in the input, in the feedback network, or in the feedback matrix, which is cool. Which, I don't know if we did. Let's just do a pretty simple octave up, octave down thing. So we set the mix to 50%. Pretty cool, bit of modulation. Change the direction. You can have one forward and one reverse, which I think is really cool. And then changing the position, like in the feedback network. Very, very different onset of the reverb. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so you have all these pitch like Andron. They're all named after galaxies or constellations, right? Andromeda, Aquarius. That's cool with the fifths. What else is there? Ursa Major. Love that one. Pleiades. Played some Pleiades by King's X on it. What's the other one in here? Pegasus sounds cool too. Just fantastic sounds, and these are so good with like running the Hydra synth into them. Man, I've had a lot of fun. Like you just put one of those on. Another pitch one's this actually. This is pretty cool. Very subtle pitch thing. One of my favorite sounds is a subtle fifth and minus fourth without feedback. Let's do that because I love what you're thinking here. Let's do Ursa, but let's do 7 up, 4 down. 5 semitones down. Oh, dude. Earl Coley, what is up, man? Hope you're well, dude. Do you have any tutorials on how to do a second expression pedal to wet effect levels? Yes. Joe G, I will show you right now. What I would recommend is like this. You set up an effect that you like say your reverb, get the mix that you want, and then in the editor or on the unit, I'll do it in the editor, what you're going to do is you're going to right click the input gain parameter, set the source to your pedal. So if you're using an FC pedal, or an onboard pedal. You just make sure you choose a source that you want. I don't have a second expression pedal, so I'm going to choose FC pedal 1, pedal 1. Okay, so if I move the expression thing now, I can go from, and I can set the minimum and maximum value for my input gain. So if I want it totally dry to totally wet, I can do that. So there we go, expression control. You could also set it so that, I don't know, the minimum is 20% and the maximum is 80% and sweep between those. So which is pretty cool. I really should just have a patch, like say my main patch, where I map the input gain of the delay, let's do that, to pedal 1. I'm just going to play around with this. I'll get rid of my wah because I don't want that on as well. And then, I don't know, like the overall gain of the amp. So we could go from FC1 pedal 1, let's go from a minimum of like 3 and a bit to a maximum of, I don't know, 7 or something like that. So what I've got is a dry rhythm tone. And then I'm blending in some delay on there. That's kind of sick. Because you could turn the delay down while you play. Another cool thing to do would be using it for the rate on a Univibe. So if I slapped a Univibe in here, let's use the modern vibe. It's a new one, which I think sounds pretty rad. We'll just attach this to the rate, and I don't know, minimum somewhere there, maximum somewhere up around 6 or something. So I mean, you could even do something where you also map it to the depth. So let's say the minimum rate will have the depth all the way up, and we'll turn them, as the rate goes up, the depth comes down. I love that there's this little LFO monitor in here as well. So yeah, that's some fun stuff you can do. Detuning on cleaner distortion. How much should you use without the guitar sounding out of tune? I'm guessing it depends on the context. Yeah. The classic thing with it is the Eventide thing, right? Which was about somewhere between 8 and maybe 11 cents maximum on each side. So that's like, I like 9 plus or minus 9, which is like 9% of an octave. So we're talking, you know, like basically if you were to play 2 notes on a guitar and one person's pressing slightly harder, somewhere in that range, which is pretty wild, right? So are these effects available on the VP4? Yes, they are. They are all in there. You get 4 at a time, but you get 4 channels per block, right? So especially the reverbs, man, that's like, oh, having those in a portable little pedal is so great. Extended spillover. Yes, but not something I need live. But I mean, there's a Limelight preset in here, right? And I know exactly what you mean. Where is the Limelight preset? Oh man, there it is. Cool. I think for the solo, you can hear that. So it's still spilling over, isn't it? Where are we? Yeah. So you can do that. The other thing you can do is use. There's a clean sound. Let's go to a different guitar, maybe. Let's grab the Meteora, because someone was asking about that before. I think this is in standard. This is a fun guitar. It's got the bass cut on it. So I can use a humbucker, but really dial in a pretty fat clean, not a fat, the opposite of a fat. I can get rid of the fat on there. A slinky clean sound. Okay. So that's all up. Bass cut. Okay, so there's a thing on here called exit effects. No, that's for exit stage left. But yeah, you can basically, where is that delay? So one thing you could do is you could set up a delay hold, which, how do you do that again? Stack and hold. So what we'll do is we'll do this. We'll go, I'm going to set it to the expression pedal, but you could use anything on here. So I'll go from, where's my solo tone? Here we go. I mean, that's not the best use of it, but bam. I'll do this. Let's see if I don't... So yeah, you can definitely do that. So how fun's that? Yeah, I need to learn the start. I need to get those dips in that solo, but the... Ah, man. So the cool thing is I can hold that, and then when I take the expression pedal down, so yeah, you use the, and there's an alternative one on there called stack. So stack is going to leave the input to the block on. So you could do this kind of thing. I need the delay on. Yeah, I would definitely need to practice that to sort of get some awesome delay hold over that. Yeah, I mean, I do like the chop and change, I think. Sounds like an art there, yeah. What have I got? Have I got spillover happening on this? So if I'm going lead... Yeah. So... What is changing that's making that noise? What am I turning on and off? Changing the amp channel. Something's changing channel when it shouldn't be changing channel. Multi-tap delay, cab. Ah. That's dumb. Why is that happening? That's not meant to happen. That's not meant to happen at all. Aha! I don't know why I did that. I must have been playing around with the cab settings or something. Alright, let's... Sorry, everybody. Let's do it again. What have I done? Okay. Save. Stay there. Yeah, having a little bit of spillover is quite nice in there. I'm doing something dumb with a block in here. There's clearly changing channel, which is leaving that pitch artifact. And then the pitch, maybe the chorus. It's bypass, so it shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, I'm getting really caught in the weeds here. I think I'm gonna head, everybody. It's 11:30, so I better get to work on some stuff I need to get done. But thank you for the hang today, everybody. It was a good time. We heard some sounds. We made some noise. And yeah, if anyone has requests for like fractal tutorials or guitar lessons or something, just leave a comment somewhere on the channel. Blossy, it was always a pleasure to hang with you, man. Everybody else who tuned in, I will see you all very soon. Double A, thank you, man. I don't know about any of those things, but I appreciate it. It was a good hang. Take it easy, everybody. Be well. I'll see you on the next one.